Interesting to note that most of Africa didn't even have a Bronze Age. They completely went from the Stone Age straight into iron, which is very unique. This metallurgical leap, if you will, makes Africa the originator of humanity's Iron Age. One of the earliest known Iron Age sites is in the ancient Near East, dating to around 1200 BC. But because of Africa's great leap from stone to iron, we see iron smelting furnaces in Africa, specifically in Igbo land, Nigeria, all the way back to 2000 BC, nearly 10 centuries before we witness it anywhere else around the world. This suggests that Africans ushered in the Iron Age, one of the most important periods of human civilization. This is a fantastic testament to Africa's contribution to world civilization. Next, at number 4, we have the African contribution of mathematics. Right in the heart of Africa, we have what some scholars consider the oldest known mathematical tool in human history, the Ishango bone. Dating to around 8500 BC, the Ishango bone is considered such an important and delicate contribution to world civilization that it can be seen only by special arrangement at the Royal Institute for Natural Sciences in Brussels, Belgium. The bone was found in 1960 in the region of Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. It was named after the Ishango people who inhabited the area sometime between the 7th and 10th centuries BC. It was originally considered a simple tally record, but recent microscopic analysis has revealed additional notch marks, indicating that it may have been used as a lunar calendar. The bone itself has a quartz writing tool at one end, while the body is made of bone that is etched with 3 rows of notch marks, with each row having its own mathematical significance. The first row is a series of calculations based on the number 10. The second row contains prime numbers between 10 and 20, and the third is a multiplication table. The Ishango bone is an important indicator of the scientific progress in Paleolithic Africa. With the advancement of trade among societies, knowledge of mathematics and units of measure became increasingly important. Basic mathematical calculations were also used to predict the effects of drought or floods on crop yields. With the discovery of the Ishango bone, the long-held assumption that African societies were slow to develop mathematical technology and made no contribution to this field of human knowledge was significantly challenged and even outright disproved. Breaking our top 3, we have the African contribution to medicine, specifically the surgery of cesarean section. Africans no doubt contributed to the methods of surgery that involve safely retrieving a baby from a mother's womb. This surgical procedure comes straight out of Uganda, and we have a first-hand eyewitness account of how Africans from that region achieved this. To put this remarkable African procedure in context, we have to remember that infection-free surgeries like this in other parts of the world were rare. Thus, the success of this highly advanced procedure by the Bunyoro people of Uganda was thought of as exceptional and hinted to its antiquity. Dr. Robert Falcon, an English medical missionary in Uganda in the 19th century, witnessed the Bunyoro C-section firsthand and wrote a very detailed account about what he saw. Bear with me as I read part of his first-hand account. The woman, a 20-year-old primapara, lay on a somewhat sloping bed, the head of which stood against the wall of the hut. She had been put in a state of intoxication with banana wine. She was quite naked, with the thorax tied to the bed, whilst another band of tree bark held her legs down firmly, and a man held her ankles fast. Another man, standing at her right side, held down the abdomen. The operator at the left side held the knife in his right hand and murmured an incantation. Then he washed his hands and also the abdomen of the patient with banana wine and then with water. Then after he had uttered a shrill cry, which was answered by a crowd assembled outside the hut, he suddenly made an incision in the median line, beginning a little above the pubic symphysis to just under the umbilicus. The wall of the abdomen as well as that of the uterus was severed by the incision, and the amniotic liquor gushed out, the bleeding parts of the abdomen being cauterized by an assistant by means of a red-hot iron. The operator then finished the incision in the uterine wall as quickly as possible. His assistant held the abdominal walls inside with both hands, and as soon as the uterine wall was severed, he pulled it apart with 2 fingers. Now the child was quickly extracted and handed to an assistant, and then the umbilical cord was cut. Dr. Robert Falcon continues his incredible detailed account and elaborates on the woman's healing process. His account is direct first-hand evidence of the African contribution to medicinal procedures and knowledge. Although we don't have an exact date of the invention, judging by the complexity of the procedure, scholars suggest that it must have been in practice since ancient times. Next, at number 2, we have the African contribution to writing. Now, in an older video, I showed my evidence that writing in the Nile Valley was, in all likelihood, invented by Nilo-Saharan Africans in Nubia. The so-called hieroglyphs greatly influenced all the civilizations in its vicinity, including Greece and Rome, as the Phoenicians copied Nile Valley writing and brought it to Greece. This was a tremendous contribution to world civilization itself. Diodorus Siculus, a Greek historian who traveled to Egypt, spoke directly with an Egyptian priest, and he reveals to the world what this Egyptian priest told him. Here's what Diodorus has to say. They say also that the Egyptians are colonists sent out by the Nubians, Osiris having been the leader of the colony, and the larger part of the customs of the Egyptians are, they hold, Nubian, the colonists still preserving their ancient manners. For instance, the belief that their kings are gods, the very special attention which they pay to their burials, and many other matters of a similar nature are Nubian practices, while the shapes of their statues and the forms of their letters are Nubian. For of the two kinds of writing which the Egyptians have, that which is known as popular is learned by everyone, while that which is called sacred is understood only by the priests of the Egyptians, who learned it from their fathers as one of the things which are not divulged. But among the Nubians, everyone uses these forms of letters. We must now speak about the Nubian writing which is called hieroglyphic among the Egyptians, in order that we may omit nothing in our discussion of their antiquities. These statements from Diodorus are very telling, and the fact that the hieroglyph for a human face is typical of the phenotype of a Nilo-Saharan man is also strong evidence for this Nubian invention of writing. Whoever invented this writing form clearly took inspiration from his own phenotype, or at the very least, the phenotype of those around him. The invention of writing by Nilo-Saharan Africans from Nubia would change history considerably and prove the invaluable contributions of Nubians to human civilization. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have the African contribution of intercontinental discovery, or what I like to call the human spirit of exploration. It's largely believed that Africans were the first humans, and without their spirit of exploration, the planet would not have been populated. All of humanity is in debt to the pioneering force of ancient Africans. Their genetic contribution to the human populace around the globe is something that simply can't be overlooked. From the expansion of Africans coming out of the continent, all the way to the African influence of Cheddarman in Europe, Africans must be given their credit for being the spark to the many flames we see around the civilized world today. They had the audacity to move from their comfort zone into totally unknown and possibly hostile territories, bringing with them knowledge, agriculture, and most of all, the building blocks of human civilization. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help out in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.